Okay, welcome to the live stream. Hey everybody, my name is Brian and this is Build with Brian. We're on system build number 27. Hopefully everybody's day is going well. Just a few little bit of notes of advice. We have a new Discord channel. I put it in the chat area on YouTube as well as it's in the description below. So please join the Discord channel when you get a chance. Hopefully you guys like that. Hopefully we'll keep it. So we're on system build number 27. I'm going to show you guys all the parts, what you're going to need, and start going through the process. Let me get the overhead. Hold on one sec. Wow. All right. That's blurry. There we go. Okay. Still a little off. Yeah. All right. Let's make this big. All right. So, parts for today also are in the description down below. But it's an Intel Core i5, i5-12400. It's a little blurry. Sorry. It's a little bit of glare going on. All right. i5-12400. The hard drive is going to be a crucial 1 terabyte P3. It's not a P3 Plus, but there's no need for it for this machine. Motherboard going down to a GIGABYTE H610M S2H V2 DDR4. That is a mouthful, but it's a great motherboard. Memory, we got Ripjaws. This is, actually I believe it's on back. 16 gigs of 3600 megahertz XMP memory. Power supply is going to be a Thermaltake Smart 500, and the case is a Fractal 1100 core. And that's about it for the parts. What we're going to do is we're going to start building everything. What you're going to require for this to be built is you're going to need a knife. Open up the boxes, of course. Screwdriver of some sort. Does not have to be electrical. You can use anything you want. Cutting tool. Clipper, wire tire clipper, whatever you got. Diagonal cutters. USB flash drive with Windows 11 on it. We have another video for that if you want that. How to load that. Also, you're going to need to load the newest drivers. We grab the newest drivers from the motherboard manufacturer and the graphic card that we're loading. So let's start with the motherboard. Let's open that and let's take that out. Someone said great picture, awesome, good. Then we've got a proper setup, kind of. All right, in the box, you got your motherboard itself, some SATA cables that come with it, which we're not going to use. We're just going to put that off to the side. And below this should be the the dreaded I/O shield. There it is. The I/O shield, and I have hit the wrong one. I/O shield, which we're going to put off to the side there. Okay. We're going to build on top of the box. You can also build right on the table if you want. This is not a graphic card build, so you could build directly on the table if you need to, because you won't need to put the graphic card in or place it or anything like that. But I like to get a little bit off the table, just so it's a little easier to display and it's a little easier to work on. So take it out of the bag. Do not work on top of the bag. The bag is anti-static, but it's only anti-static on the inside of the bag, not on the outside of the bag. So you do not want to build on top of the bag. Put that away. Okay. All right, so on the motherboard itself, we have a few areas that I want to go over before I start to actually put into the build. I'm just going to label out some parts so that you know where things go and where things get plugged into. For one thing, you're going to have your power connectors here and up here. That's going to come from the power supply. You're going to have your USB 3.0 connection here on the right side, which is going to plug into the case for the front header. You also have your front header connectors down here, which is going to be your power button, your power light, your reset switch if you have one, hard drive light, and speaker if you really want to plug that in. You have a system fan. System fan is for the front fan. This system has a front fan, So it'll be plugged into here, which it says System Fan 2. If you have a rear exhaust fan, there's one up here for System Fan 1. That would be, the back part of the case would be on this side, and that's where you would plug that into. Your CPU fan is the one that is in gray. That is also right here. That's going to be closest, obviously, to your CPU socket. That's where you'll be plugging in your CPU fan and heatsink. RAM-wise, you have here in these slots. This is basically for your 2 RAM sticks. And you're going to put these RAM sticks in, and well, there's only 2 slots, so it's going to be in dual channel mode. But if you have a 4-socket one, you may want to read the manual and figure out which ones will give you dual channel mode. Your hard drive is going to go right here in this NVMe socket. That's this socket here. That's right there. And then it has the little holder for the actual NVMe socket to hold the NVMe drive down. If you have a graphic card, you'll be using this, which we are not, but I'm going to just open it up just so it stays in the open position, just in case someone wants to install a graphic card later. They won't have to remember to push that down to install the card. Down below, even further, USB 1 for USB 2.0 headers and USB 2 for 2.0 headers are connected here. These are just direct pins. They look a little different than a USB 3.0 connection. They were also blocked out only one direction and will only allow you to plug in one way. Audio connection on the left side is also for your front, your front audio. Most people don't usually use the front audio. It's pretty bad, but it is an option there if you want to do that. And you have it ready for you so you can plug it in for the front header, so at least it works. All of your I/O is on the back. Really, it's standard I/O stuff. Nothing really different here, so I'm not going to really go over that, but it'll be all your connectors like your USB, DisplayPort, VGA, etc. So let's start with the CPU. We're going to put the CPU in. To open up the CPU socket, we're going to just lift this up. We're going to lift the cover. And this board is an LGA board, so it's going to have all of the pins are going to be on the motherboard, so do not touch this area. I am hovering my hand over it, but you probably shouldn't do that. Just double check to make sure there's no bent pins. It doesn't look like there's any bent pins. It's going to be kind of hard to see from there, but there's no bent pins. It's fine. But if you do see a bent pin, you may want to return your board before you even start going any further, because obviously the board is probably not going to work right. Especially if you bought it brand new, it should not have any bent pins. So we're going to take the CPU out of the box. This CPU comes with a heatsink and fan. We're going to use the one that comes with it. If you want a custom cooler, you can always choose that at a later time. Probably best to do it while you're doing the build, but in the box, you got your CPU, which I'm going to get a little close up of that. It's an Intel Core i5. Glare. Anyway, on the opposite side, you'll see they're all pads. This is just the pads are going to be basically pushed down into the socket. You're not going to have to really push on anything. I say push down, but it's going to do it itself. You're just going to lay it on top of the socket. So you're going to take it out of here. You're going to look for the arrow. And in this case, the arrow is right there. And that's pointing down to the bottom left of the CPU. Now you want to match that on the socket, which on the socket has it still same thing, bottom left. There's a little arrow. So we're going to lift this back up. We're going to put this arrow to arrow matching. Should just drop right into the socket. If I lined it up right. Come on. Oop. There we go. Once it's lined up, you'll see that everything fits. There's like these little notches. Those also pertain to the notches on the CPU. So I'm going to put this down, and the cover is going to pop off. This is normal. Just take that, put that off to the side, and you'll take the lever and put the lever all the way down and underneath the little latch. Now that's a securely connected CPU. You want to keep your cover just in case you have an RMA or you have something else wrong with your board, or if you want to sell your motherboard without selling your processor, you'll need this to ship it, because you really shouldn't ship this without some sort of protection over it. Now we're going to put the CPU heatsink and fan on. Again, if you're not going to plan to do that, or if you're going to plan to sell this whole thing as one, then you could just get rid of this. But I would hold on to it for now until you're done with the full build. So in the box for the heatsink and fan, you're going to see on here, it already has pre-applied thermal paste. We're going to use the pre-applied because this machine is fine for that, and it looks like the thermal paste is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. This is the bottom, so this is going to face this way. When I go to put it on, the fan will face upwards. I'm going to take the little fan connector off so I can easily work with this. Give me 1 second. No. All right, whatever. Okay, so we're going to put this in place. These 4 holes will line up. These 4 holes here will line up with the 4 connections on the heatsink, and you're just going to lay that in place over the 4 holes. Then you're going to push it down. So I'm just going to find 4 holes, and then just push down opposite side. So you're going to start with 1, and then start the opposite side. Same thing here. Start on one side. Go to the other side, and you want to push evenly just because you don't want to put too much pressure on the IHS, which is the bottom, that metal piece that's on top of the processor. Fan, you're going to connect directly to the CPU fan header. It's a 4-pin connector, so you're just going to plug it straight in. It only goes in one way. If you're pushing too hard or if it's not lining up, then you're doing it wrong. Maybe flip it over. So next is going to be RAM. We're going to do RAM. RAM, you're just going to take out of the container. The RAM has notches on it. The notch here in the middle determines which placement it should go. One side is longer than the other. You want to line the longer side up with the longer side, and then you want to put your RAM directly in. This RAM doesn't have any type of like little plastic covering to remove, but if you have Corsair memory, they have a little bit of plastic memory, plastic stuff, you want to remove that. So put it in place, slide it down, should click right in. Kind of hard to hear the click, but it clicks in. Same thing, repeat the process for the second stick. Push in place, should click in place. The little latches, if they're not fully latched, just push them up. Give them a little push in to make sure it's fully in. That's it for RAM. RAM is pretty easy. Again, if you have 4 sticks or if you have 4 slots and only 2 sticks, you're going to want to double check to make sure which ones are going to give you dual channel mode, especially for DDR4. The manual does have a little sticker on it. We're going to just toss that because we don't need that. I don't like stickers on stuff, so anti-sticker. All right. Next, we're going to put in the hard drive. Just going to take it out of the box. Inside the box, there's going to be an extra screw in there. The screw that we have is not necessary for this board because it has a little mini stand instead, so we won't need that. So we're just going to open up the stand first. And we're going to take the box out, take the drive out, take the box out. Take the drive out. Drive is about the size of a stick of gum. One side has all the pins. Let me bring this down a little bit. Has all the pins. The pins basically line up with this socket here. You're going to put it on a 45-degree angle and push it into the socket. It should be very gentle. It shouldn't be too hard to push in. Then you're going to basically lay this down and put the little cover holder on it so it stays down. I'm going to keep it in place. It should be a little bit off the motherboard. There should be space underneath this drive that is normal, that allows for the heat to dissipate, and it allows for the drive to be easily removable and put back in. That's it for the hard drive. Everything for the motherboard is pretty much set, so we're ready to put it into the case. Let me just do a little bit of cleanup here. I'm going to bring the case up onto the desk. Let's clean up the boxes. Okay. That's out of the way. Fold up the knife. Just put the motherboard off to the side somewhere safe so it doesn't get damaged. I already took the side panels off this unit, so it makes it a little easier. This is an 1100 Fractal design, 1100 core. Core 1100, the other way around. Core 1100. This case is very easy to build in. It's not really that big, so we really don't have a lot of room for a very large graphic card or anything like that. So if you want to like do gaming and stuff, this is probably not the case for you. You probably want something a little larger if you want to have something with a little bit more flexibility to install larger graphic cards or anything like that. We're just going to prep the case a little bit, so we're just going to take off all of these little twist ties and get at the boxes that we need. If I can, there we go. Okay, all these metal twist ties, just throw these out. Don't put them back in the system. It'd be a very bad idea. All right, put that off to the side there. Okay, so inside the box, we also have another box, which is just basically all the screws that are in here. We're gonna need the knife again, and let's open that. Inside the box, we have all the screws for the system. It also comes with some cable ties. These cable ties are really, really small, so I'm not going to utilize these. I'm going to use different ones that come with the power supply usually. Inside the bag, we have motherboard standoffs. That's the gold ones. They have also this little locking mechanism. Just throw this locking mechanism out. Do not put that on there. It's just basically a recipe for disaster. Put that over there. If you have a magnetic tray, use a magnetic tray to hold all your screws and stuff. This is going to hold everything, so I'm just going to dump them all out. This is basically the motherboard standoff. The motherboard standoffs are very small. They're perfect for holding the motherboard up. They're the only ones that are gold like that, so really easy to tell. Those are going to be placed down here on the motherboard for holding the motherboard in place. I'm going to open up the screw bag. In the screw bag, this is going to be all the screws for the entire case. I'm going to show you a few of the ones close up, so the ones that are important. The most important ones are going to be one for the motherboard standoffs that are going to go through the motherboard and go through the standoff to secure the motherboard down. That is this type. It is a very small screw. It's a little thicker than most, and it's still a Phillips. The next one that's probably important to you will be, for this build, we're not actually using them, but these are also the hard drive screws. If you have a mechanical disk, it is the only one that looks a little different. It's got like a little pass-through and still a thick screw, again, still Phillips. That will be going through this area over here where we have spots for drive mounts. It goes right through these small little inlets, and your drive would go on the opposite side and you can screw it into there. Just to hold down the vibration, it's a little bit of like rubber protection for that. We're going to take this out though because we're not utilizing it, but if you have a hard drive, that's where it would go. If you have an SSD also, it fits into these little small screws here for that area. We're going to take this out though so we can work a little bit faster and better without having to have this huge black bar in the way. Sorry about the camera view. There's two screws here and there's also another screw on the bottom. Keep the screws because you're going to obviously put this back. This is part of the structure of the case. If you leave it out, the case will start to wobble over time, which will not be good. How do I know? Because we forgot one once. And that's how we know. So we never want to do that. All right, let's change the blurry thing here. Let's go back. There we go. All right, so these are all the front panel connectors. We're just going to push that off to the side for now. Or up and out of the way. So just keep it out of the way. Get rid of the dirt. There's a little bit of dirt in here. Piece of something. All right, so the next step before anything is to remember to put the I/O shield in, because I'm going to forget it, and I always do. So let's not forget that. We're going to take the I/O shield out of the plastic. You could go a little bit out of order here if you don't want to put the I/O shield in first. You can do the power supply first, but it does have to be in there before the motherboard, of course. So, okay. I/O shield, basically, it's already labeled What you're going to do is you're going to put the mouse side up to the top of the power supply. So this is going to go in this way, and it's going to go into this space right here. Just pops in place. Just be careful with your fingers. This is a sharp piece. You could poke yourself and it may not be a very good day. So just slide it, pop it in place. Be careful with your fingers not to get cut. Since this case is very small, I'm going to put in the power supply up here first, and then I'm going to put the motherboard in. So I'm going to grab the power supply, open it up. This is a non-modular power supply, so this has got all the cables on it. You won't have to plug in anything. This power supply is a 500 watt power supply, but it is really not made for like too much of a high-end graphic card or anything like that. It's good for low-end stuff with no problem. Comes with a manual, silicone packet, which you should not eat, even if I make jokes about it. The manual, of course, on how every little connector is in there, which we're going to go over anyway. Power cord and some power some ties, as well as some screws to put the power supply in place. So inside it's wrapped up. I'm just going to take the wrapping off of it. Let's get to that. Okay. Now, on your power supply, the most important sticker is the sticker that's on it that tells you all the little power requirements that are actually part of this power supply. So the most important number you're going to see here is the 12 plus volt, and it's going to say 500 watts, which is actually perfectly what we need, which is more than what we need for this system. But that is the max amount of watts that like your graphic card plus your main board and your CPU will all take. So as long as you're over on this, you're fine with everything that's inside your system. If you're a little unsure, just get a little bit bigger power supply, just to basically handle all of your parts. Or you could just add them all up and put it in place. Now, to put this in place, it's very simple. You're just going to line it up here. I'm going to put it back to focus. There we go. There we go. So it just lines up with the back of the case. The fan should be facing down, which it is. This is put. I don't think I showed the fan. Fan is facing down into the case. If you have the fan facing the other way, the power supply might overheat. So that's probably a bad idea, so make sure to have it the correct direction. If you have a case that has a separate component or like area for the power supply, that fan may also be facing like some sort of filter. This case does not have that, so it's only one huge air compartment. It's pretty simple. We're just going to face it down into the main area. Inside the bag, we have a power cord. I'm going to put that off to the side. Some wire ties, as well as some screws. We're going to take this apart because I need the screws. And we could use the wire ties later when we're ready to wrap things up. Or tie things up is pretty much what I should say. Wire ties. These are the good ones. These are a little longer. And we have 4 screws. The 4 screws are very simple. They are a little thicker screw. It is still a Phillips, so you can all do this all with one screwdriver. And you have, it looks more like a little nut driver on one side, but it also has a Phillips. But also it's just a little bit of a thicker screw. There's only 4 of them. It's for this power supply only. Well, it'll fit on almost any power supply, but it's came with it, so this is what we're going to use. Let's get that back into. Yeah. All right. So it's going to have 4 screws. There's only 4 spots for the 4 screws to go into. So just line up the power supply and then screw them in from the back of the unit. Leave a little bit of, don't tighten them all the way down. Leave a little bit of flexibility just in case you got to move the power supply around a little. Now, after the last one, just tighten them all back down, go back over, give them a full tight down so that they don't move. Power supply shouldn't move. Power cables are all up here. I'm going to put this a little bit out of the way, maybe cut that first. I'm going to cut the wire tie off. Be very careful not to cut the wires. All right. Once those top wires are all loose, you can just jam them up here for now, just to keep them out of the way. We will use them shortly when we put the motherboard in, after we get the motherboard and all the other components in. All right. So now we're ready to put the motherboard in, but we have to put down the little stands for the motherboard. So that's what these little gold ones are. The gold standoffs are for the motherboard. I don't know if you guys can see that. That's the only one that's gold in here. And those are going to go into these little holes here. And you're going to use the holes that line up with your motherboard. So I'm just going to take a quick look at the motherboard and figure out which holes what we need. Which we need here, 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 here. So probably 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6. 6 line up with this case, so we're just going to use all 6. Make sure to take a count and a note for yourself of which ones you need where, because you want to make sure that you have the proper amount of screws that you're screwing into. Do not leave a standoff that is not actually going to be screwed into, because if you do that, you may end up shocking your board or having much worse problems when the board decides not to post because of an electrical short. You could also destroy your board, which would be really bad. If it's within warranty, it depends on the motherboard manufacturer if they'll accept it back. If there's physical damage, probably not. Now, with screwing these in, you could use a pair of pliers if you want to just twist them a little bit more. I'm going to use a nut driver just because I have one with me. But you could use anything like pair of pliers or very small pair of pliers to turn these. You don't need anything really that heavy. But I want to give them a little extra turn. There's a nut driver here. This I don't need. Which one is it? This. That's too big. Size down. There it is. You just want to make sure they're all the way down. They're bottomed out. You don't have to turn really hard. It's just enough to get it, make sure it stays down when you try to screw this down. The reason why is just in case if you have to take your motherboard out, you don't want one of these getting stuck to the underside of the board. And you'll have a hard time getting the board out, and you'll end up scratching your case most likely. So it'll be a bad day for you, but you'll live through it. Next, let's put the board in. To get the board in, we're just going to take the board itself and put it on a little bit of an angle, and we're going to slide it in place. So just put the board in. It's going to go into the I/O shield. Make sure that the I/O shield has all the ports on the back clearly visible, and that none of the pieces of metal are stuck inside any of the ports, which they are not. They should line up with all of the motherboard standoffs below. You may have to push a little bit towards the I/O shield to get it in place. That's normal. After the first few screws, it should be pretty easy. So just push in, put your first screw in, and then the rest of the screws should be pretty simple. You just repeat the process all the way throughout, using the motherboard screws that I showed you earlier. Every case will be a little different. If you have a different case, you may want to check the manual and see which screws you should be using where. If you're unsure, before you put your motherboard in, you may want to just take one of the motherboard standoffs and just try to put a screw on it. If you're pushing it really too hard, then you know you got the wrong screw, or if it slips right into the standoff, then you know you got too small of a screw. Got one more up in the upper corner. Yeah. Just get this out of the way. Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to arrange some of the wires here. Obviously, the wire for the CPU fan is kind of getting in my way, so I'm just going to tuck that in between the RAM and the CPU itself. The heatsink, I mean. Just going to pop that in place. Do not use a knife. You probably shouldn't do that. Probably use a flathead screwdriver just to push that in. But I have this available to me, and I'm safe about it. All right, kind of. So we're ready for power, and we're ready to plug in all the rest of the cables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the front panel connectors first, just because they're the easiest to get to right now. And that's going to make it a little bit easier to grab onto. Now, if you're unsure about how the front panel connectors work, there are labels on the board of which ones go where. They also are labeled positive and negative. Positive and negative really make a difference when it comes to the LEDs. When it comes to the switches, it doesn't really matter which direction you plug them in, but all of them will have labels that say power switch, HDD, but it has a positive and a negative listed there, as well as the same thing for the power light, which should have a positive and a negative lead. Positive goes to positive, negative goes to negative. It's pretty simple. But if you have it the wrong way, the light won't light up, and you'll just need to go in there and reverse it. Do not leave it running the wrong way. There's no damage, but you know, you want the light to work, and you want to make sure the light works. So same difference. Now with a power switch, there is no positive and negative. It really doesn't matter which way you plug this in. It'll always work because it's a closed type of operation, not anything to do with polarity. So let's all right, let's put these in. It's going to go down here on the board. It's way down here. Probably not going to be able to see this very well because it's way over here. And it is labeled, but if you can't see the label, grab the manual, because the manual has an extra copy of what they all are and how they plug in. Most of the boards are the same, but I've gotten one board that had it different, and it's usually it's several motherboards that have different pinouts. So you may have to be a little bit careful, but for a workstation board like this, you shouldn't have any problem. All right, so I'm avoiding chat. I'm sorry. What do we got? Great picture. Awesome. Looks great. Awesome. Oh, hey, I'm back. Okay, good. Cool. Rasim? I'm gonna so screw up people's names. I'm so bad. I'm gonna say that's Rasim Saidi? Saidi? Sorry if I'm butchering your name. I apologize. My name's not any better, so I promise. I get that all the time. And I'm bad at other people's names, which I should be better, but let's put this down. All right, so this is all good to go. Put that off to the side. And let's see, we got USB 3.0. So the USB 3.0 connection, which is this blue connector, that's going to plug right into the 3.2 connection down here. I remember you. I have bad timings with like people's names. I'm so horrible. I do remember you though. Like I just have bad ways of pronouncing their name. I seem to like make up different names every time. Even when I know that I totally see the spelling and I'm like, yeah, I know that. And I just say it totally different. And maybe one of these days I'll actually get it correct. So hopefully I will get it correct one of these days. But I do remember you, yes. A USB 1. Oh, here it is. USB 1 connections right here. It's going to be connected right in. All of these connectors only go really one way after this, so. Rasim, how are you, by the way? I forgot to ask. I'm sorry. I'm like being so rude today. It's a little hot in here today, unfortunately. In New York, it's like a little warm. So, and I can't turn on the AC, so I'm like dying. So if I feel like I'm like rushing or anything, I don't mean to. The one that called you old man for not knowing abbreviation. Yes, I remember. Yes, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me though, because you know my memory is probably horrible too. But yeah. How did that work out for you, by the way? Did you end up with the I think it was a 1050 or something? No, that was a different person. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm like getting two people mixed up. But how did the game work out for you? Did you get a different card, or did you actually go with the 1050? I think. Just curious. HD audio. HD audio. There we go. Put that in. And, huh, did I miss something? No. No, didn't miss anything. Okay, so all that's plugged in. All the HD audio is plugged in. Everything else is plugged in. The fan in the front is plugged, as well as your USB 2.0, and as well as the HD audio on the front. I'm going to tie some of these cables up just to get them out of my way. Nice. 4070. Wow. Okay. Nice. That's definitely going to play Forza Horizon very nicely. That's, yeah, you must be enjoying that, because that's going to be like, you probably could turn the graphics all the way up. I mean, graphical settings, you know. Does Forza Horizon actually, I'm going to assume it has RTX, right? It has like the ray tracing and all that. I assume it does, because I mean, it's like yeah, it's the whole point of that game, I think, is the background. Well, it's the cars too, but I mean, you know what I mean, playability. Yeah, it's great, awesome. Yeah, you can play a lot more titles though with that 4070 though. I mean, hopefully you're not just. Oh, well, actually, no. You know what? Actually, it's probably just a really good email just for that title. But I assume you're going to be playing other titles. What other titles are you playing, by the way? Let's get some of this stuff out. Get that. Oh, let me get the. Get some wire ties. I need more wire ties. Can never have enough wire ties. Just going to keep tying up all the way down to the bottom here, pretty much. I know my technicians in chat are going to be like, Ryan, with the wire ties, that's enough. It's enough, but it's never enough. We need like 90 of them, you know? These wires have to be put in place. Okay, cut all those off. Just clean that up. I'm going to tuck this down and underneath and away. Same thing with these wires a little bit, just push them down. Just in case we do a graphic card later. Not that I don't think this customer is going to do a graphic card, but you never know, so. CSGO, Valorant, Red Dead, okay, cool. All right. Never played Red Dead Redemption 2. I've seen it. CSGO I played. Valorant I played very slightly. I didn't play that game very often. How's Red Dead Redemption 2? It looked interesting. I thought I was going to go get it. I don't know. It looks like a big time invested game, so I may not do it. We're going to download another soon. Awesome. That's going this way. That's good. Okay. Well, CSGO is CSGO still like very heavy on the CPU compared to the GPU, or did the new one? Did they finally change it on the new one? Because the old one, like old CSGO, is like, you know, that was very heavy on the CPU more than the GPU. But I thought the new one, it's a little bit more the opposite way, I think. But in either case, it's really a good game to still play. It's awesome. Oh, this is really... Just trying to separate the power cord here. This power cord, obviously, it's the 24 pin, which is not visible. There we go. 24 pin goes down to the board. It's only one that's 24 pin. It's all combined together. It has one little clip. This clip goes under this little latch here. and that's going to clip in place. That's on the board here. That's its little latch. That just slides right in. Should click right in. There you go. This cable I'm just going to kind of move out of the way for now. That's not going to stay there. We're going to move that out of the way though, just to get everything else. Oop. Okay. All right, this one is the CPU. CPU one is labeled, oh, it is labeled CPU. So make sure that you plug the CPU one into the actual one on the motherboard that is for CPU. Make sure that your graphic, you know, the one that says PCI Express, you want to make sure to plug that only into your graphic card. So make sure to not screw these up because they are 8-pin, they are keyed, but you could force it the wrong way. So let's plug that into the board. The board it's going to be plugging into, it is going to be up in the upper left over here. And plug that straight in. Should click in place. Again, wires, just move them out of the way a little bit. Ahmad, hi, how you doing? Nice to see you again. I think you were here before also. I'm pretty sure. Oh, I wish chat actually came up with it like the previous chat so I can remember things. All right. It's great to see you guys. Hopefully you guys' days are going well. I mean, it's hot here in New York. I don't know how the temperature is by you guys, but it's like 80 over here. And I know I'm complaining about 80. It's not that bad probably for a lot of people, but. All right, all the rest of the cables, we're not going to use these, but just to go over them really quickly. This one's a SATA cable. It has a unique flat design, has a little notch on one side. That notch. No, you weren't here. Okay, so great. Great to see you. Well, great to see you now. By the way, I forgot to mention, I think I mentioned it earlier today, but we do have a new Discord channel too. So I did set that up. It is in the description. It's in the chat as well. If one of my moderators, if you guys could just copy and paste the Discord link again, just so people have it. So we are taking builds on that as well. So you can create your own thread. If you have any questions about a build for your own self, you can put it under Build with Brian. And we can definitely take a look at it, you know, in spare time. Also on the board, we also, thanks Melissa, I appreciate that. We also have the Molex connectors. These are a little older. It's a 4-pin connector. This connector is for older like CD-ROMs or drives or even lights, fans. You can use, you know, some fans still use the old Molex connector. Any other connectors on here? We got PCI Express. This is for your graphic card. We don't have one of these in here today, but if you did, you would connect that up to your graphic card. And that is about it. Everything else is the same connector, just repeated. When you finish, please let me ask you a question. Yeah, just ask a question as you go, man. Don't hold back. I'm okay with it. You know, I will definitely see your question. We don't have 1 billion people in the chat. It's fine. Don't worry. I'll definitely see it. I'm okay with being distracted, by the way. As anybody knows, if I get a distraction, I'm okay with it. I love my tangents, you know. Let's just wire tie these up a little bit, and we're just going to shove these all up in the upper corner away from all the rest of the fans and stuff. Put this down a little bit. There we go. All right. Just going to clip these. All right, so question. Can you install RAM in a Lenovo laptop that's not for gaming? That depends on the Lenovo model. Some have spots for RAM to be added, some don't. If it's soldered in, then you probably won't have that option. If you own the laptop already, you can either look up the model directly online if you don't want to take it apart and just see if it has extra RAM sockets. You could also try to go into the BIOS, and if you try to go into the BIOS, you could find out if it actually has like multiple sockets and what sockets are filled. If there's obviously an empty socket, it would say it's an empty, there won't be any filled in memory, memory listing there. If that's the case, then you could buy more RAM and probably upgrade it. If you want, I would recommend checking the model number first and then going through that. Also, if you feel comfortable with it, the best way is still to open up the bottom of the laptop and then just see if there's an extra RAM socket that's available. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, or if you just don't want to waste your time, and if there isn't one, then yeah, check the BIOS first and check the other way first. The software is easier to check, I think, than actually physically opening it. So, but yeah, good question. And most of them are upgradable, so you probably have a pretty good chance, because the Lenovo is, you know, more of a business brand than a gaming brand. But yeah, you can definitely, you should probably be able to look through that and see what you can get from it. You can also still call Lenovo support too if you really can't find anything. But I'm pretty sure they have the manuals online too. So yeah, the site asks you for your serial number and stuff, so just have your serial number ready. All right. Also, when you do look it up online, if there's already RAM in there, and I would recommend replacing the RAM that's already in there too, just to make it less confusing. You know, so you don't have to match memory. You could just kind of like buy 2 new sticks, whatever you want, you know, instead of having to try to match the memory that's in there specifically, unless you really want to spend the time to go do that. But it's just easier sometimes just to buy 2 new sticks and just buy whatever size you need, you know. I know it's a little more expensive that way because you have to buy more RAM, but you'll have definitely matched memory at that point. And you'll want matched memory, especially on a laptop, because the little bit of matched memory that you have on there, you're going to get that little bit of extra oomph and speed. And you need every bit of speed you can get with a laptop, honestly. So it's worth it. And RAM, I think, right now is not that expensive. You know. You're welcome. Put that over that way. Tie this up. All right, we got a little more cable tying to do, just because it's here. No, I'm just tired. I don't like to have too many loose cables going on in the system. It just leaves a little bit of a problem with, you know, later on when we got to clean stuff or we're going to move stuff around. It makes it difficult to get when cables are in your way. All right, let's tie that up. That's enough of this. Clip that. Clip that. All right. Push this up here. Delete that. All right. Okay. All right, it's pretty good. Most importantly, you just want to keep cables away from like fans and stuff, or the power supply fan, or this fan. You want to make sure to eliminate those. I'm going to put the other bar back in here, this little piece, so that I don't forget it. Where did I put those screws? There we are. Okay. Yeah, these are all the same. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So that's good. That's looking pretty good. I just thought about something. We should probably make another Discord channel for upgrades. I totally forgot that one. I've got software, hardware, programming, hires, blah blah blah, but we don't have one for upgrades. We might want to add that. Just mental notes. All right. Let's try to boot this. Let's get the power cord out of the way. Let's put this around the other way. Oh. All right. So I'm just going to hook this up. Sorry, guys. It's going to look kind of crappy while I go hook all this up. Let me switch. You know what? Let me switch you guys over to there for a moment. Just bear with me for a moment. Let me get the keyboard, mouse. Actually, I could probably, you know what? I can put it back over here. Oh. There we go. All right, just gonna hook up everything. I'm gonna hook up the keyboard, mouse. We're not doing the network, obviously, because I don't want to create a Microsoft account, so we're not gonna do that. But we are gonna hook up everything else, just keyboard, mouse, and screen. This is an onboard graphic card, so it goes right to the motherboard for the video, but if you have a graphic card, you would connect it to your graphic card instead of the one that's on the board. Some people make that mistake accidentally, and then they don't realize they're getting the full benefit. All right, just gonna get the keyboard. Keyboard. Oh, that's like really bright. I need to change that down. All right, power. There we go. Graphic card. Graphic going to motherboard, and that is HDMI. There we go. Voila. That should be it. And now I can't see my screen. Of course. All right, so let's move this a little out of the way here. Let me move this this way. Sorry, guys, there's a little bit of moving around here. This is what happens with live. I always have everything a mess on this desk. It really shouldn't be this much of a mess. All right. Let's put that way. And all right, let's put this over here. Oh. Oh. All right, I'll move the screens. Not a big deal. All right, let's get this plugged in first. Let's turn this on. Let's make sure it works. That's always a positive. There we go. All right, so let's power it on. At this point, when you go to power it on, just make sure that the fans are turning. Make sure, you know, everything is on and connected. Make sure all your fans are working. And it should boot into the BIOS, hopefully, without too many problems. There we go. Let's hit delete to go in the BIOS. In the BIOS, it goes to this nice advanced screen. Before you make any changes, though, we're going to be updating the BIOS. So I would recommend that we update the BIOS first because it's going to probably erase all your settings. Can you show me how to see the laptop vision? Can you show me how to... Oh, version. Okay. Can you show me how to see the laptop version? What, a laptop version of RAM? I don't know if we have a laptop here. I don't have a Lenovo. It's gonna be a little different on each, but you know, let me move this around. Hold on a second, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna be able to see the screen this way. All right, let's do this. I don't know why I moved this way. Live, you learn here. Okay. Let's move this over here, and pull this that way. Oh, that's better. How to see the product key. Something like that. Oh, the product key for your... You mean the serial number for your laptop? The product key is for like Windows. Unless I'm, you know, maybe I'm mistaken on what you're... Yes, serial number. Okay, so yeah, the serial number, if you don't see it on the bottom of the laptop, it should be on a sticker on the bottom of the laptop. If it's not there or it's hard to see, you could also run their software. Lenovo has a piece of software that you can run on there that'll also identify your system pretty easily. So it'll also come up with your serial number, etc. If you want, you could also check, sometimes MS Info has it. So if your operating system's loaded, you just go into MS Info and you can see if it's labeled in there. It might be. But more likely, you'll probably want to use the Lenovo software and just install it really quick. It takes like 2 minutes and it'll identify your machine right away. So where was I? We're updating the BIOS. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Advanced. And we're going to go to QFlash. And we're going to hit Update BIOS. I plugged in my USB flash drive that has the BIOS on it, which hopefully it finds it. And we're going to select the newest BIOS, which is F29. We're going to go forward. We're going to update the BIOS and let it go. And it's probably going to reboot. Yeah, it's going to say it's going to shut down, restart, and then reinstall the newest BIOS. That's normal. Oh, you're welcome, man. Don't worry about it. Hopefully you find it. Let me know if you don't find it. You know, I can send you a link later and give you a link to where, like, to download that. Updating BIOS is going to go through. During this time, don't touch the keyboard or mouse. Also, you may want to also make sure that you're doing this maybe on a UPS battery, just in case if you lose power. You shouldn't also do this during any type of lightning or thunderstorm or anything like that. Make sure that you always have constant power for this, because if you do lose, let's say, power during this little operation, the board will become bricked. This board does not have a flashback feature, so you'll have to send it back to the manufacturer for them to fix it. And that's just costly and a waste of time, so just try to be very careful during this time. We'll let this patch. The last BIOS was 1214 on this one. This board is a little older, but it's got the most amount of I/O that you could imagine on this board. It's got, you know, HDMI DisplayPort, VGA, and DVI. So it makes really for a great business machine, because at least, you know, no matter what monitor you have, it'll pretty much fit that cable. All right, okay to reboot. Nice, Lenovo G50-80. All right, give me 2 minutes, man. Let me write that down. Let me write that down so I don't lose that out of chat. Where's my mouse? There we go. Let me copy paste here. Copy. Back to the BIOS. Did I go in the BIOS? All right. Hold on a second. Sorry, this is like around my screen. We'll just copy it for now. All right. Let's get through the BIOS and let's get into the setup. Then I'm going to look over your laptop and we'll see if we can get you an answer. All right, so this is resize bar. We're going to turn that on. We're going to turn on, well, that's about it for that. Let's go to XMP memory. Oh, it only shows profile. Okay, so it's not the more advanced mode. Let's go to advanced. Let's go down to XMP. You know what, let me get rid of myself here. This is a little annoying. XMP. I'm going to go to profile 1. It shows proper DDR4 3600. Memory multiplier says 3200. We'll leave that for now, and I just don't want to mess with it. What else I'm going to turn off is just basically a few other things. I/O ports I usually turn off. I turn on resize bar, and I turn off the App Center download. I don't want that. That thing is annoying. I/O, we're going to turn off the serial port because we're not using it. USB, we're going to check everything else. Looks good. Network configuration, that's fine. NVMe is fine. Showing that. SATA drives, we don't have any. Just make sure that nothing's installed. Shouldn't be. VMD, we're not going to use. And we're going to go back over, make sure. We're not going to set the date and time because the date and time are just kind of meh. So we're going to make sure the boot is set up for the USB flash drive. Should be. There's no Windows 11, Windows 10 is fine. We want to make sure secure boot is on, which it should be. No, settings, miscellaneous. Oh my God, it's under miscellaneous. Okay, that's weird. TPM is on. Yeah, it's fine. Acoustic noise, we don't need this on. It's not loud to begin with. Save settings and exit. Let's go. And it's going to boot off of that flash drive, and we're going to go into loading up Windows. Let's wait for that to boot. What's the difference from OS and Windows? OS is your Windows. Windows is an OS, is basically what it comes down to. So OS stands for operating system. Windows is an operating system. Linux is an operating system. Mac is an operating system, to give you an idea. All right, to install Windows, we're just basically choosing your language, keyboard input, hit next. We want to choose install. I'm going to say I don't have a product key because we don't want to enter a product key on stream. We're going to choose the version of Windows that we're going to load, which is Windows 11 Pro. It's like you choose, okay, it's like you choose what OS you want to say the least. I say OS just because it's like generic. It's kind of more generic. You can, I mean, we're talking about two of the same thing. Like Windows is an operating system, so it is an OS, you know. But it's sometimes just easier to say OS because sometimes I load multiple OS, different types of OSs, so that might be a little bit of an issue. Oh, I'm skipping things. So let me go back. So you have to obviously agree to the terms, hit next, choose custom for your installation. I'm going to put one, we only have one hard drive, but if you have multiple drives, you might want to set up 2 different drives. At this point, we only have one, so we're just going to select that main one. If you want 2 different partitions, this is the time to do it also. You can create a new partition and set the main one as primary. Okay, you got it. Awesome. All right, next. During this installation, it takes a little bit of time, but it'll go through and then it'll reboot. Lenovo G50-80. 50-80. Let's see. Let's see. Do I have the right mouse? No, I do not have the right mouse. Let's see. Never show that. Put this up here. Yep. Lenovo G50-80. Memory. All right, so memory for this is, well, it does say two SODIMMs. So DDR3L, max 16 gigs. So you can only go to 16 gigs of RAM. But if you have only 8, you could take that one 8 out and put in two 8s, which will give you 16 max. Just to let you know. All right. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't need this. All right, close that. Okay. So we go back to updates. So I'll let that reboot. Start. Oh, you have 4. Okay. All right. So yeah, you take the 4 out and put two 8s in, and you got 16. Yeah, a decent amount of RAM. That was DDR3, by the way. So let's make sure you get SODIMMs for DDR3. Make sure you get laptop memory. It's called, you know, laptop memory is usually called SODIMMs because they're like really small. But you should be able to upgrade that with no problem. Oh, you're welcome, man. No problem. All right. Getting things ready. Ugh. This process takes a little bit of time for installing Windows. It's going to go through all this little process. During this process, it's going to say getting ready. It's going to reboot a few times. This is all normal. This is always normal. This is just going to take some time to go through everything. It'll restart. All right. You want to leave the internet disconnected during this time so you don't have to create a Microsoft account. That's up to you though. If you want to create a Microsoft account, you can. We just don't prefer it. All right, this is the out-of-box experience. This is the default Windows loading. You're going to choose United States or whatever country you're in this case, United States. You're going to choose your keyboard layout, which is US for us. We're going to skip a second keyboard. I'm going to lie and say I don't have internet. I'm going to continue with limited setup. It's now going to ask you for a username. We're going to put in B1 just for the hell of it. Hit next. No password for now, but you should choose a password. Okay, it's going to say getting things ready. This is normal. All right. Let it install. It should be a few more minutes. Obviously follow the directions. Don't turn off the PC. Let it run. This is normal. A little side note, if you noticed, I did not put the side panels on. I do that on purpose. It's kind of a weird thing around here. We always leave the side panels off until we are pretty much done. And when we're done, we put the side panels on, do another boot test, and verify everything's good to go. I feel like it's kind of cursed if we put the side panels on before we do a boot test. It usually never boots then. We have problems or something. It's total superstition. Almost there. All right. We are now in Windows. So what we have to do next, we're going to load drivers, and then we're also going to set up time and do a whole bunch of other stuff. How do you get a virtual machine? Okay. I'm gonna assume that you mean virtual machine on your computer. If you mean on your computer, to run a virtual machine, you have to have certain software. You'll have to in the Windows thing. Okay, yeah. All right. So if you want a virtual machine within Windows, there's some software that does it for free. There's some software that you have to pay for it. It really depends what level you're going to be using that virtual machine for. If you're just using it for testing purposes, you could use something like oh, what's the name of that company? VirtualBox. VirtualBox, I think, is free still. You could also use VMware, but I think VMware costs something now, so I don't think they have an option. VirtualBox. Okay. Yeah, you could download that. It may require you to have your processor may have to require VM-T. That's Victor Mary -T for Tom. VM-T is for virtualization. You might have to make sure your processor supports that, and maybe to be able to enable that in your BIOS for that to work. So, but yeah, you can get VirtualBox online. I think it's free. Pretty sure it's still free. Okay, cool. All right, so what do we got here? Drivers, right? Okay, so drivers. So let's grab the drivers. I have them on my flash drive here already, so I'm just gonna go to my B1 folder. I'm gonna take everything down from B1, so I'm just gonna copy this and put this on the C drive, so it's a little faster loading after I get it down. All right. And in my B1 folder, I just have all the drivers. So I'm just gonna load all the drivers. We're gonna extract everything. We're going to start with the motherboard drivers. We're going to do the graphic card driver last. We're going to run past the smart screen. That's okay. It's just that we don't have internet connected, so it can't verify itself. LAN driver. Okay, I'm going to continue all the way through. You just right-click, extract all. And you repeat the process, run. The next one, NF update. Okay. Consumer, whatever this is, extract. If a driver isn't needed, it'll let you know that you don't have that enabled or that feature's not enabled. It's okay, you can just skip past it. Unless you want that feature, then you go back to the BIOS and turn that feature on. You can do multiple drivers at a time. If you get a failure, then just do a restart first and then retry that driver again. But I like to not have to continuously reboot, so that's why I'm doing this a little bit this way. I also know that most of these drivers are okay to install multiple at the same time. Okay, hid. I'm not installing any extra utilities or anything. We keep our systems pretty clean like that. The only utilities we will load is if a customer requests like a utility. We try to keep everything just a very minimal load so that the system has the most amount of resources available for their programs and their applications that they actually use. The graphic card does come with the motherboard on this one, but I did not grab it from the motherboard manufacturer. It's the Intel graphics, which I got from Intel's website. I got the ARC. Yes, we don't use this one. ARC driver. I just prefer that one over this one because it keeps updating it. This program is installed correctly as well. All right, let that go. This one we don't use. Okay, so that's all installed. And I'm just going to do a quick reboot. And I'm going to also connect up the Ethernet adapter before I load the graphic card driver because it's going to require the internet for that one to work. I have a problem with the Windows Update service. Because it's not in the laptop. It's not downloaded. Huh. What? You don't have the Windows, that's part of the operating system. Okay. I don't know if you can install it later on. Are you in a different country than the United States? I assume you're probably in a different country than the United States. Maybe they removed it for a reason? Or maybe like you have a different version of Windows or something? Yeah, that's weird that you don't have an update service. You should. I don't know. That's a little odd. I would have put it past, like a separate country probably removing it. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know why they would do that, but because I mean you wouldn't be getting the most secure patches or updates. That'd be really bad. Really? Okay. I mean, no. Maybe he turned it off. Or maybe he did remove the service. I mean, you can remove it. It's just, it's difficult to remove. So you'd have to like do that on purpose, It does come defaultly installed with Windows. So I'm a little shocked that it's not there. Do you have it in settings? You don't have this in, I'm not sure if you have Windows 11, but it should be like Windows updates. It should be in settings, even on 10. Oh, he cracked it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's different. Yeah, that's different. Yeah, I mean, we don't recommend cracked software, but if you're only using it for like, actually, you know, it'd probably be best off not even using cracked software. You could just download and install a non-activated version of Windows, and it will run for a very long time. They only take certain features out that you probably want to be using. So, you know, and you could also buy Windows online for pretty cheap, you know, if you really want to, if you want to do the right way. But if you don't mind the little activation thing in the corner, and it takes out your backgrounds, like if you don't care for your background and it's saying non-activated. Yeah, if it's not activated anyway, it should be fine. You know, you should still be able to get updates and stuff. But if it's cracked, then no, then it's probably on purpose that it took it out, you know. When you cracked it, when whoever cracked the software, basically, it'll probably remove your Windows updates. That makes sense. I would definitely probably just reload your Windows. You know, make sure you're on a good copy. You know, you can pretty much buy that software pretty much anywhere. Newegg has it and stuff like that if you want to buy it, or just run it unactivated. You know, you can run it unactivated, but just don't have it cracked, because if it's cracked, you're not going to have the Windows updates or patches. If it's not activated, which should still work, you know. By the way, installing the graphic card driver, it's going to blink. That's normal. I'm just doing that right now. And also I'm installing some of the updates in the background for Windows updates. Problem is that there's some files that I have to leave in the laptop. Okay. I mean, I would just back up your file. I mean, unless you're talking about programs. Maybe your programs, you can't reload your programs, or you don't have installations for it. Yeah, it's a little tricky when you get to that level. You may want to, I mean, if you have all your programs, then you can reload everything and just back up your data and reload it. Just so you have a better copy of Windows. Or either that, or just deal with no updates. Or you could try to, ooh, that would be hard. You can go to the Microsoft catalog. I don't know if it'll install the updates though for you, because if it's cracked, it may not even reach out to Microsoft, to those sites. But you could go to the Microsoft catalog for Windows updates, and you could try to download and install them one at a time. But that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort if it even works, compared to like just going in here and clicking Windows Update, you know. The Windows catalog updates, you could get them if you go to, I think it's catalog.microsoft.com actually. You could actually download the updates by looking up each catalog number of whatever operating system you're on. Like if you're on 7, 10, or 11, you could look up 7, 10, or 11's version of all those updates and patch that way. But it's very manual. It's very tedious. It's not something that I would even want to do. You know, I would just tell people, hey, reload the operating system is probably the easiest way to go. Because updates come out more often, and you would spend a lot of time doing manual installation, which would be like drive you nuts. All right, reboot required, but we got to wait for the other updates to go. Let's see, did the other ones finish? No, so we have to wait for those, and then we can do a reboot. But you can go to the catalog and do that. I just don't recommend it, because it's going to be like really a long process to do that, you know. It would be easy to reload the system and then just do it the right way. Is Linux really easy to run? Linux, there's a lot of different versions of Linux. That's the problem with Linux. Drivers, again, they're available, you know, for like, you know, your hardware and stuff, but it is a totally different operating system. So it's not like Windows, you know. Linux is entirely different ball of wax. If you want something that's easy to install for Linux, you could try Ubuntu. That's Ubuntu. Ubuntu works pretty good. It's more like Windows in the aspect of how you install it is pretty easy. If you want to try it, also Ubuntu requires very little hardware. So like even if you have a slower machine, it'll still pretty much operate normally. So you don't really require a lot of hardware requirements. And Ubuntu seems to be like one of the easiest ones to install. There's a lot of other things. There's a lot of different versions of Linux out there. So there's Pop! OS also. That one's that I've heard of. That's pretty good. All of them, I think all of them are pretty much free. I know Ubuntu is free, unless you want like paid support or something like that. But you don't have to do that. Yeah, if you go to Ubuntu.com, you can see the desktop version of it on there. If you want to get like an idea of what it looks like before, maybe you want to, if you want to take that chance and load that. Or you could try a virtual machine of it. That's another option. I think you were talking about the virtual machine up earlier, so that's another possibility. We'll let this install really quick. Is there an OS that you prefer for gaming? Ooh. Right now, Windows is still one of the best for gaming, just because most of the titles are available for gaming. Linux has come around a little bit ever since, you know, the Steam OS kind of thing kind of came out. So, you know, they do offer some options there. I would probably, you know, but for the easiest amount, for the most easiest gaming experience, yeah, Windows is still pretty much the best. Mac is horrible. Well, still right now, as of right now, it's horrible. So, but Linux is starting to come around, but not everything is made for Linux though. Most stuff is still made for Windows, unfortunately. What did the display driver? Whoops, finish on that. Okay, drivers are in. Good, close that. We're just waiting on the last one to install, and then we're going to do a quick reboot. And that should bring everything up to date. We're going to probably do a Windows bloatware removal really quick because there's a lot of garbage that it installs that we don't want. You know, it's got a lot of stuff here installed, and it's got a lot of junk here like Clipchamp. We don't need that. Feedback Hub. We're going to probably remove everything, including the Xbox stuff, because this is a business machine. So we're going to run our tool just to kind of cut everything down to what they need. We're still waiting on this. All right. All right, we got a few more minutes. Is that time right? Yeah, time's right. Please repeat the question so we're not lost. Yeah, I will do that next time. I appreciate that. Thanks for the feedback. Question is, and do you have a low budget laptop you can tell me about? Maybe. Okay. I really go by whatever you kind of need it for. If you're just going to use it just for like regular use, or are you going to be doing gaming on it? Or, you know, games on a laptop, you're going to be, you know, you're going to have to hire your budget a little bit because obviously you need a graphic card. But if you're not doing gaming really, and you're just, or if you're doing very low intensive games, okay. All right, so you're responding with games as saying being the most important. Let me think. Off the top of my head, you're going to have to go with something with a graphic card, obviously. I don't know what your budget is. Do you have a budget in mind already? Well, we're waiting for this to install. Let me flip over to a different screen. Let me bring up another window. Oh, one of those keyboard. Okay. So I'm just going to go to Newegg as an example, but you can shop anywhere, by the way. Let's see. Computer systems. Laptops. Where are you, laptops? Laptops. Probably gaming, but you don't have to go gaming. Let's do lowest price. Let's also do 500 to 600. Okay. All right. So graphic card, you're going to have to go pretty low. Yeah, I don't want to go that low. Let's see if we can get a 1050 in there for that price. I don't know. Yeah, okay. I mean, what was your price? 500 to 600. Ay, yeah. There's a refurbished Asus ROG. You're gonna, you know what? Seeing a refurbished or recertified might be a good option. You'll want definitely a 1050 at least. You know, I mean that's probably gonna be more in your price range, but you're gonna probably have to find used because for $500–600 you're gonna have a pretty hard time getting something with a decent card in it. Let me look up. Where's this model number? They may, you know, Newegg probably just doesn't have much used stuff. They only have like pretty much mostly new. They have some reused, but you're not going to have much. Where's this model number? Did I pass the model number? Oh boy. Is it in the stupid title? It's probably in the title. Oh, yeah, right here. All right. So if we take that, do a little research here. Amazon has it. No, not available. All right. Yeah. It's older. Yeah, it's a little older. Newegg has a pretty okay price for that, but that's, yeah, let's see if we could try to find you something. I guess you could probably also remove the graphic card, but you're gonna have a hard time playing a lot of games with no graphic card. So like built-in graphics is not bad, but let me uncheck it. Oh, that's horrible. No. Yeah, maybe we could do a range. 500 to 600, right? So let's do this 500, and then we'll do this also just for the hell of it. What the hell is this? It's junk. All right. Yeah, full HD. Oof. Yeah, i5, 8 gigs of RAM. Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna have a really hard time. It depends on you know what? Yeah, but when it comes on, it gives you more FPS. Yeah, obviously, yeah, with a bigger, yeah, with a better, you're asking, but what is the component that gives you more FPS, frames per second? So you're gonna say I'm gonna say graphic card is usually gonna give you that most of the time, depending upon the title. Some titles will require better CPU, some titles will require better GPU. Majority of the time with games, though, it is usually the graphic card. So, yeah, I don't know if you're gonna really, you know, if you can swing another $100. I know I'm asking a lot there, but if you could swing another $100, or maybe 200, was it 200? No, not $100. You said 600 or 500. So, yeah, if you can swing another $100, maybe. But if you can't, you're really between a rock and a hard place. You could try eBay. Maybe eBay might get you something. Maybe somebody's just looking to upgrade and they're just looking to blow something out, you know. The only problem with eBay, you got to be very careful because a lot of the sellers have got a lot of junk. So just look at the specs, you know, maybe figure out. I'd probably stick with something in a GTX 1050 because that's going to get you in that price range for used. You know, for new, it's going to be a little harder. You see the price kind of jumps up when you're in new. So I don't know if we can get, maybe we're just trying for the hell of it. Yeah, you're looking at refurbished most of the time. Yeah, refurbished. And it's around, you know, these are around 700, you know, with at Newegg. But you could see, check around. I would check eBay, maybe Craigslist. If Craigslist available to you too, that's another option. But again, just be careful because there's a lot of junk out there too. You know, if you want to match specs, you could try to look for a specific model. I would take something like this and just look for that model, you know, on eBay. So I would take this and say, okay, I want a Lenovo Legion Wi-Fi 20. You know, take this, go over to eBay and see if somebody has it. Keyboard again. There we go. Yeah, see, sometimes you're going to get this. Okay, you know, good example. You got a 1070 GTX. That's exactly the same model, I think. $549. So, and that's in your range. You know, so you look around a little bit. I think you might be able to find it. Just the only bad thing about buying on eBay is you don't know what you're going to get. You know, because it is used. So you might have to, you know, message the seller, make sure that the machine turns on. Maybe they can send you a video of it being turned on and working. So at least you know that there's, you know, it's actually correctly working and there's no problem with it before they ship it to you, just in case. And also, you know, just make sure you buy through eBay. So if you need to get something returned, you can get it returned pretty easy. Is Ryzen 5000 a good one or not? Ryzen 5000 is good. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with Ryzen 5000. It's fine. You're talking about the processor, I assume. So yeah, the processor is more than enough for games. This one happens to be an Intel i7, but you know. Let me switch back and see where we're at. Oh, this is downloading still. Still downloading. Wow. All right, that's taking forever. But yeah, eBay, you do have options. You do have options for a used unit. So you might be able to get something on eBay for pretty good. Just make sure that it has, you know, a decent graphic card. I mean, maybe go with 1050. Let's go with 10. This is it, the 1050. The 1070 is okay too. 1070 is okay. This is a 1070. Yeah, it's a 1070. So that's still pretty good, you know, and that's a good price, $549. As long as it works. Looks like it's an okay shape. What the hell? This is a little weird. I don't know if that's plastic or something. What, did this guy use a coaster? I don't know, but you know what? You know, if you don't want to double check the pictures a little bit. Oh, he's got stickers. He took the stickers off. Somebody took the stickers off. That's just sticker film, which you can easily clean off. I think the person just was too lazy to do that. Ryzen 5000 is not bad. Yeah, there's no issue with that. This one's an okay one too for that. I mean, for that price, it's not bad. It's does it have 16 gigs of RAM, I think? Oh, I missed it. 5.6. Yeah, 16 gigs of RAM. An i7. It's a 1070 GTX. It's not going to play like a ton of titles, but it'll play a decent amount of the titles still. 1070 is, I think, still being updated. So. Oh. eBay Lebanon? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm in the US, so I don't know if this is in Lebanon. It could be. I don't know if they'll ship outside. Standard shipping, United States, California, yeah. I don't know if they have anything else. Yeah, you may have to switch over to the Lebanon one, but you can put that model number in and see if it still comes up. You know, that's which one did I select there? I put in GL503VD, and that is pretty much the first listing of that. It's close, 503VS, but it's probably the one with more RAM in it. So it's a little different. But again, you have to check the specs. I would just go by specs too. Just take a look at all the specs and see what you have specifically. But yeah, you know, I think eBay's in Lebanon. I'm pretty sure it is. I wouldn't imagine they aren't. I don't know if it's not just direct eBay. It is. Okay, cool. So then, yeah, maybe check that out. There's also like, you could, I don't know if you have Amazon. Amazon's another option. You could try that, but Amazon's kind of like iffy on that stuff. I'm checking it out. Okay, cool. All right. Let me go over to the other thing. Let me see. We're downloading stuff. Yeah, we're still downloading. Wow, this is taking forever. All right. So let me just dismiss this, dismiss that. We don't need that. And all right, we're just waiting on the last cumulative update, and we're waiting on the display driver, which is taking forever to download. Microsoft servers are sometimes very slow. I thought it was my network connection, but it's not. It is obviously Microsoft. Come on. Maybe it's stuck. No, it's not stuck. Yeah, Amazon can ship there. Just be careful on Amazon. Make sure that it's sold and shipped by Amazon. If you're shipping by another seller, you might want to just make sure that seller is, you know, good and there's no issues. Or if you buy on Amazon, make sure that it's like, you know, guaranteed by Amazon. So if you know, just in case something goes wrong, you know, you buy that product and it's maybe not what you expected, you could still return it. Yeah, someone else said if it's from eBay, making sure it works is important. Yeah, that is very true. That's why I said have the seller send you a video to make sure that it's running and proper, you know, with the system there. Just before that, you know, before you waste your time on it. But if you want to, if you feel more comfortable with Amazon, go with Amazon too. That's okay. I'm not saying Amazon's bad. Just make sure that, you know, you have an option to return just in case. Just in case something like you receive a certified or refurbished unit, because I have received a bunch of units from Amazon that we ended up having to send back. So we just had a bad experience, but they did take it back with no problem. So it's just something that you may want to test the minute you get it. Wow, we're still waiting on this. Oh, you know what? I didn't change the power options. That's probably why this is taking so long. Yeah, I forgot to put high performance. Let's turn that off. Turn this hard disk thing off. Wireless, yeah, without the wireless. Sleep after, never off. Yep. Okay. USB selected. Suspend off. Graphics, we want maximum performance. Everything else should be maximum state. Display. We'll just put this to 30 minutes. Apply, okay. Should make it go a little bit quicker. This may be stuck. Optional update. Let's put that in. No, that didn't work. Yeah, I think it might be stuck. Yeah, this happens on Windows when we update. Sometimes it gets stuck. We'll just do a reboot. We'll let it reboot and update. During the update process, it may still update and then reboot a few times. This is normal. All right, during the reboot process, it should go through another update. It should say like updating Windows again sometimes. Yeah, there it goes. This is normal. It's going to install a bunch of junk like that AI crap, the Copilot stuff. If you want to leave that on, you can leave that on if you do, but we usually turn it off. We turn off Copilot, we turn off the widgets, and we hide the search box. Double check to see if there are any more updates. Probably. Yep. All right, while that goes, since I'm impatient, we're going to open up Windows PowerShell and we're going to run our script to clean up the system a little more. We're going to go to our folder that we have. We're going to go to Windows 11 Bloatware Removal Tool. We're going to run that. The display driver flickered. That's okay. Run that. Say away to all. And we're going to run one more time. We're going to remove bloatware, blah, blah, blah. That's going to remove all the junk software. Might have to rerun this twice because I'm installing other stuff, but I want to get through it. So let that go through. Once it's done, it'll say it's complete. And you'll notice when you go into start, a lot less stuff here. But more importantly, installed apps, you'll notice Xbox is removed. A bunch of other stuff has been removed. Clipchamp, a whole bunch of junk. We got to add Spotify to that list because not everybody's, we don't usually put it in. By the way, that script doesn't remove anything permanently. It just removes stuff from the Windows Store and stuff like that. You can also reinstall anything from the Windows Store or from an application. It doesn't block you from doing anything. It just basically removes the stuff that we normally don't use. More pins, I prefer that. Yeah, there we go. That looks a little better. And yeah, I mean, it cuts it down a little bit so that, you know, for a business person, they don't need solitaire, you know, and all the rest of that stuff. So we just get rid of it at this point. And it's all cleaned up. Drivers are loaded. Let's double check to make sure the drivers are all good. So I'm going to right click, hit Device Manager. And we're just going to quickly make sure everything is properly installed as it is. There's no little question mark or exclamation point on anything, which means everything, all the drivers are installed correctly. And the system is good to go. Normally I would rename the PC. We're not going to rename it right now, but I usually give it a proper name. It kind of comes up with a random name. You can do that here on the home screen. You could also set your privacy settings. That's another thing that I usually go through and uncheck all the junk so that we don't end up with a whole bunch of stupid stuff being happening. You could also, this is up to you. You don't have to do this, but if you set these privacy settings, you'll have less tracking in your system. The system will run a little faster if you turn all this off. The only bad point is that some people may want that on. I'd also turn off the filter. We also turn off Microsoft account, work accounts, history, and all that. But again, this is all up to your settings. We have another video on this specific thing for just settings if you want to go through all this. But that's about it. System's loaded. It's ready to go. We will load up the customer's software off stream and do the rest of it and then deliver it. So this is the end of the stream. Guys, if you haven't joined the Discord, that's new, so please join up. We do have a lot of different text channels over there so that you can post your builds, post any questions you may have. If you guys have any suggestions for the Discord, let me know. We will definitely take every suggestion, 100% serious. And if you want, you can also leave some comments on YouTube. That'll always help the algorithm. Thanks for, so somebody says, thanks, I had fun talking. Awesome, yes, I enjoy everybody comes on to the stream. We enjoy also different questions, so please feel free. Join us next time as well. And we'll see you soon. Have a great day.